Hello, everyone, and welcome to another lesson on HNC Level 4 Uniform Management and Operations Unit. My name is Isbana Naz, and I'm a lecturer for Scholar School Systems. So today we will be looking into Learning Outcome 2, applying the role of a leader and the function of a manager in given context. So what we will discuss today is how situations affect the role of a leader and function of a manager. So we will look into what we understand by situational leadership, system leadership, task or relationship-oriented approaches, and the application of chaos theory and management by objectives. So starting off with situational leadership. So the theory of situational leadership was developed in the late 1960s by Mr. Paul Hersey and Ken Blanchard. The theory was first introduced as a life cycle theory of leadership. During the mid-1970s, life cycle theory of leadership was renamed as situational leadership theory. So the definition of the situational leadership is a style in which the leader or the manager must adjust his style to match the development level of the followers he is leading. So the situational leadership are those leaderships who's going to readjust their leadership style based on what is going to be effective for their subordinates, for their employees. The situational leadership model views leaders as varying their emphasis on task and relationship behaviors to best deal with different levels of the follower maturity. So Hersey and Blanchard, they came up with a situational leadership model with 4 factors in a matrix system, where S1 is the situational leader is termed as to be telling, selling, participating, and delegating. So over here, we will be looking more into all of these classifications. So in this graph here, what we can see is that if you have a high relationship, then with your subordinates, then your task focus can be high or can be low as well. So it depends on which category you will fall under. So let's look into it in further detail. So situational leadership, which has the style of telling or directing, okay? Do you remember that we said that in Learning Outcome 1, Part 1, that, someone who's like, showing the way, an orchestra showing the way of how to actually play the tune or music, okay? So this style of telling or directing, okay, it is known as an autocratic style, which is focused on high task and low relationship with the employees, okay? So the focus is high task, telling and directing style is here, which has a high task level and a low relationship with the employees. So leader defines its roles of followers, and leaders define the roles of followers and tells them what, when, where, and how to do the different tasks. It is a one-way communication flow from the leader to the followers. So like we can see here from this metric that of course telling and directing style is just a one-way communication. The leader is telling them what to do, okay? So sometimes in situations, maybe this is required, okay, to get like some quick tasks done. All right, they need to get the task done immediately. So that's why the leaders are focusing less on the relationship aspect with the employees. The next segment is the selling or coaching style. So the leader behavior is high and there is a high relationship with the employees as well. So leaders provide the adequate information and direction, but there is more communication with the followers, with the employees, with the subordinates. Leaders try to sell their message to the followers to make them understand what is important for the organization. So we first looked into S1 telling, the telling and directing style, where they are focused mostly on the task and less focused on building relationship with the employees. But the selling style is where they are highly focused on tasks. At the same time, a leader can have a high rapport, a good relationship with their employees. So the participating style is, this style has a high relationship and less task focus. So the leader focuses more on building a good rapport, a good relationship with the people the person is working with. The follower is empowered to make many of the decisions since he has the knowledge to do so. There is high level of trust and communication between the leader and the follower. So looking back into the metrics, S3 falls in over here, where the leaders are focused on how to have good communication skills with the employees or with the subordinates or with their followers, and so that there is like a two-way communication, and they are less task focused. Lastly, the delegating style is where there is, I mean, we can understand from this graph already that the, the leaders are less focused on the tasks and they have less communication with their followers or their employees. And it is not basically, they're just telling the employees what to do and that's it, but they are not creating any, telling them how to do the task or how to build any kind of, or it's not building any kind of relationship with the employees. So the delegating task is where the leader is just told what the task is and that is it. It is considered as low relationship and low task leader behavior. Leader passes most of the responsibility to the followers. The leaders still monitor progress, but they're less involved in decisions. This style involves letting followers running their own show. So Hersey and Blanchard also came up with some sort of maturity levels that can be broken down into 4 different levels in line with the different leadership traits or the situation leadership behavior that a leader should have. So M1 is the less maturity level, where the people lack the knowledge, skill, and confidence to work and often need to be pushed and supervised. So M1 could be something where it falls under a telling or directing style. M2 people are willing to work but cannot independently take responsibility for the work. So leaders' intervention needs to come here. Leaders need to participate here so that they can actually help the followers to go on with the work. M3 is where people are very experienced and are able to take up tasks independently, but do not have the confidence to take sole responsibility. And M4 is where people have high abilities and confidence and are willing to take individual responsibility of the task. So over here, we can tell that M1 with low maturity, where they do not have, people lack the knowledge, the skills and confidence to work, and often need to be pushed and supervised, they follow a leadership style of telling or directing. M2, where the followers have medium maturity or limited skill, that's when the leadership style try to help the followers. They try to coach and sell their ideas to their followers. M3 with medium maturity, high skill, but have less confidence. This is where the leadership style needs to change to be participating. The leaders should participate alongside their followers so that they can work together. And M4 is high maturity, where the followers know their tasks, for which the leaders are just delegating the task to them. So you see that situational leaders adapt to actually the needs of the followers. Okay, how much followers are able to complete a task on their own, or is unable to complete a task on their own, and followers, leaders actually work according based on that. So after situational leadership comes system leadership. So system leadership is a set of skills and capacities that any individual or organization can use to catalyze, enable, and support the process of system level change. It combines collaborative leadership, coalition building, and systems insight to mobilize innovation action across a large decentralized network. So system leadership, we have to think about it this way, that the world we live in is inherently complex, okay? So we have to adapt to the system that we are living in, with linkages that are often difficult to see and understand. This is why it is important for a leader to incorporate with the system view and developing strategies accordingly. So the system leadership practice focus on more like a personal leadership, hold the creative tension between vision and current reality. It bridges the cultures, okay? Leaders try to collaborate with the organizational culture, with the vision, so that they can actually help their followers move on with the task. They follow a strategic engagement. They engage key people and create high-functioning collaborations. They have more focus on the impact on delivery. They support colleagues to see systems balance quick wins and game-changing shifts. Okay, so they actually focus on how the system actually tells them to lead. All right, and accordingly they lead their subordinates or employees. So the leaders who strive to make progress towards social change while applying the systems thinking are part of a new culture of system leadership. So these leaders can be individuals or organizations who are committed to creating the conditions for others to rise up and better the world. So the first is the ability to see the larger system, okay? Because we are living in a world where it's constantly changing, and we need to adapt and innovate according to keep up with this changing world. The second capability involves fostering reflection and more general conversations. And the third capability of system leaders is to make sure that they center on shifting the collective focus from reactive problem solving to co-creating the future. Moving on, we will look into what task-oriented leadership is with examples. So as you advance in your career, you may consider pursuing more leadership responsibilities. Okay, so choosing a leadership style that suits your qualities can help you excel in any role. Task-oriented leadership could be a style you choose to incorporate within your management methods. So it will depend on you actually that how you're going to adapt to different leadership styles, depending on the organization you are in, depending on the rank you are in. So task-oriented leadership focuses on achieving mainly the goals. Task-oriented leaders delegate assignments, they set clear processes and issue deadlines to ensure all team members remain focused and deliver their part of the project within the designated time. Managers who use this leadership style develop a structured workplace with clearly defined priorities and schedules. They consider using task-oriented leadership if they need to complete a high number of objectives on a deadline. So strategies of task-oriented leaders is to communicate clear objectives, set processes, issue straightforward deadlines, offer employees guidelines, and implement a reward system. So their focus is basically to get the task done, and according to the task, reward will be provided to their followers. So they prioritize the work. They are keen about time management because they need to complete a task in certain time. They need to be very strategic. They need to know how to delegate and communicate their task. So leaders who are people-oriented, they focus on the other hand, they create an overall success by building lasting relationship, lasting rapport with their stakeholders, with their employees, with their suppliers, investors, shareholders, okay? So this type of leaders does care about tasks and schedules. It does not mean that they completely neglect tasks, but these leaders believe that work culture is more important. So a people-oriented leader uses relationship building techniques such as employee recognition and team building exercises to create an environment where employees feel appreciated and motivated enough to invest personally in the success of the business and work at their highest possible levels. There are some pros and cons of these leadership styles. There is little doubt that task-oriented leaders can get results. They provide workers with simple steps and detailed guidelines. Yet, many task-oriented people are referred to as micromanagers, what make workplaces uncomfortable and not quite welcoming. Task-oriented leaders care less about whether the worker is able to do the work, is able to provide a good idea for making production easier. There is no basically communication between the leader, the manager, or the followers. As a result, task-oriented leaders often make workers feel like drones. They feel like robots, and they have to complete their task in this time, and adequately they will be rewarded. Eventually, if this leadership style is used constantly, workers will feel under pressured, underappreciated, less motivated to reach the exact goals, and eventually what happens is it hampers the production. People-oriented leaders create a workplace environment where employees trust their leaders and feel loyal toward the business and their coworkers. So they feel that they belong in the organization. They feel that they are part of the family. These leaders don't. They also open the door for creating newer, better business processes by accepting and promoting employee and team feedback. Yet many people-oriented leaders are referred to as weak leaders sometimes. They often invest so much time into relationship building. So there needs to be actually a balance between task and people-oriented leaders. Okay, that's when probably an effective leader is going to come forth. So some relationship-oriented leaders give workers so much control over completion of a task that little guidance or monitoring that task cannot be completed on time. So here is a table that kind of distinguishes between the relationship-oriented leadership and task-oriented leadership. So relationship-oriented focuses on interaction, facilitation with the followers, and task-oriented focus on work facilitation. Relationship, of course, they focus on relationship. Task, they focus on structure, roles, and tasks. So we can see from this table that there is a stark distinction between these two kinds of leadership, and there needs to be like a balance between the two to be an effective leader, to get work done effectively within an organization. So relationship leaders, they foster positive relationship as a priority, and task leaders, they produce desired results. Results matter to them. Relationship leaders, the emphasis on team members and communication, while task-oriented leaders, the emphasis on goal setting, getting the tasks done, getting the production done, more into how quickly they can make money. And relationship leaders, they communicate, they think about casual interactions, they work on frequent team meetings, but task-oriented leaders, they're very strict with schedules. They are prioritizing more on how to get work done quickly. So there is another type of leadership theory that comes into play in many organizations, which is known as the application of chaos theory. So this chaos theory is a scientific principle describing the unpredictability of systems that fully explored and recognized, which is fully explored and recognized during the late 1980s. So these complex systems could be that there could be some adverse situations, all right, that could be chaotic for an organization. It could be weather patterns, it could be ecosystems, water flows, anatomical functions, or organization itself. And leaders need to adapt through this, need to get through this chaotic situation. So while this system's chaotic behavior may appear random at first, chaotic system can be defined as a mathematical formula. Sometimes leaders, they form this kind of chaotic theory deliberately in place so that if there are any adverse situation, employees or followers, they are able to work together through this situation. So applying chaotic theory in organization behavior allows theory to take a step back from the management of day-to-day activities and see how organizations function in a unified system. So if there is a chaos, if there is something wrong within an organization, how employees and leaders and managers will come together to work together so that they can mitigate the situation in a system, in a proper system, in a collaborative system. So an organization is a classic example of a nonlinear system, that is a system in which minor events have the potential to set off grave consequences or chain reactions, and major changes may have little or no effect on the system whatsoever. So the chaotic theory are actually sometimes is in place in organizations so that if there are any adverse situations, people can manage the situation within the organization. In order to exploit the chaotic quality of an organization, one needs to try to see the organizational shape that emerges from a distance. Instead of pinpointing the causes into the organization, the company is better served according to chaotic theory by looking for organizational patterns that lead to certain types of behavior within the organization. Organizations are focused on structures and designs. So charts are drawn to illustrate who is accountable, what can be done, how to actually develop within the organization. That is where chaotic theory comes into play. They build models of organizational practice and policies with hope that this will better the situation and improve the organizational functions. However, chaotic theory implies that this is unnecessary and sometimes will be even harmful. Another theory that comes into play in organization is conflict theory, which focuses on competition between groups within society over limited resources. So conflict theory views social and economical situations as tool of struggles between groups or classes used to maintain inequality and dominance of the ruling class. So uh, Marxist conflict, the scholar Marx, his conflict theory sees society as divided along lines of economic class. Uh, the minority group does not have a say here, basically, and people who have the more upper hand, they have the most say. It's more like an autocratic leadership theory that kind of um, falls under this conflict theory. So if you want to unleash human potential, we need to accelerate it by creatively harnessing chaos. Okay, so if you're going to have like disaster management issues, then chaotic theory can be used, but it needs to be on a practical basis. A practical example of this is a playground. Okay, kids are playful and chaotic because they have defined structures and beautiful systems driving their development. But work should be of no different. Okay, so you need to have like an innovative idea of how you're going to implement the chaotic theory so that it does not become a problem for the organization. But at the same time, it readies the organization and the actors within the organization, the people within the organization, to adapt to any kind of adverse situation. So management by objectives is where it is a strategic management model that aims to improve the performance of an organization by clearly defining objectives that are agreed to by both management and the employees. So according to the theory, having a say in goal setting, so when managers set objectives, they should be setting it alongside their employees, align them, include them with the theories, with the objectives. So when employees feel that their voice is being heard, then together you're making alongside the leader, the employees are making the objectives, and they will work accordingly the objectives. So after making sure that employees as managers have been informed of pertinent general objectives, strategies, and planning premises, the manager can then proceed to work with employees and set their objectives. The managers ask what goals the employees believe they can accomplish and in what period of time and with what resources. They will then discuss some preliminary thoughts about what goals seem feasible for the company or the department. So continuous monitoring, performance and progress, MBO process is not only just essential for making line managers in business organizations more effective, but it's more about the collaboration. To monitor performance and progress, the following are required. Identify ineffective programs and rearrange them. Apply proper MBO concepts. Prepare long and short-range objectives and plans, and install effective controls. Eventually, when there is a performance appraisal, the managers and the employees are working effectively together to work alongside to meet those objectives. And so the performance appraisals of the employee is also done based on those managerial objectives. And surely they will adhere more to these objectives. So the performance evaluation under the MBO process performance review are made by the participation of the concerned managers. They provide feedback. They give continuous feedback, so that they can improve the goals, so that they can improve the objectives of the organization. Thank you for listening to this lesson. I hope to see you all again. Take care.